David Crisafulli, I'll go to you first, and I'm very interested in your thoughts on this particular story because I think a lot of young people around the country need a pretty sharp lesson in what's required when it comes to doing the right thing when it applies to social distancing. And of course, if we go to the front of the Telegraph, it is very clear what the editor of the Daily Telegraph thinks of these youngsters, and that is a pack of imbeciles. Backpackers at Bondi and King's Cross have again been caught flouting social distancing rules and putting the lives of New South Wales residents at risk due to their uncaring attitudes. Police were forced to shut down 3 backpacker house parties in Sydney on Tuesday evening. And of course, Caleb, I'll get to you shortly and we'll show you the front of the Gold Coast Bulletin. They've referred to them as idiots. David Crisafulli, are they imbeciles?
Yep, they're imbeciles and they're idiots. And Peter, there's an element of people who just don't get this. And it's not just restricted to the young. There are people of all age groups who think this is all a little bit of a trial run and that we'll wake up one day and the disease would have just scampered away and we all get on with life. But that's not the way it is. And there's a lot to do. And my message to people is pretty simple, and that is that you just have to do the little things right at the front end and it'll pay dividends down the track. Now, we have seen a relatively good start to this in Australia, but my concern is what that will do is that will make people let their guard down, and you'll see scenes like this emerging. And it only takes a few days of that, and then boom, it's out of control again, and you've got one big issue, and you'll be playing catch up, and we're seeing that in places like Italy.
All right, Caleb Bond, let's go to the front of the Gold Coast Bulletin. There's 2 stories we're going to address on the front of the bulletin, and I'm sure David Crisafulli will be very keen to comment on the splash. But here it is. Council workers spat at. Cosmetic companies claim $450 for in-house tests. Top cops say we can't find most flouters. Tougher border restrictions to keep out these idiots. And as thousands of Gold Coasters face uncertain futures and as Army gets 3% pay rise. First off, these are Brazilian backpackers who are flouting the social distancing rules at the moment. Caleb, they've referred to them as idiots. The telly's referred to them as imbeciles. When will they learn?
I'll refer to them as morons, dunder, plunkers, useless. I mean, you could honestly go on and on and on with terms for these people. And what is it about backpackers? Why do these foreign backpackers think that they're somehow invincible, that they're either not going to catch coronavirus or they're not going to spread coronavirus? They are just as susceptible as anybody else. And if anything, being young, it actually makes them more dangerous because, yes, they are less likely to die from it, but they may well be asymptomatic. And so they could be getting around right now with coronavirus, whether they contracted that overseas or they contracted it since they came to Australia. They could well have coronavirus and not know about it. And they're going out there deliberately doing things that are against the rules. We have been so strongly advised that the best thing we can do to help slow the spread of this virus, and again, we're only slowing the spread of this virus to save lives. The best thing we can do is to isolate ourselves, and if we have to be around other people, to maintain distance. It's not hard to get that through your head. And I've got to say, I know a lot of people have argued against it, but the $11,000 fines that New South Wales has instituted this week for people who disobey those rules are needed on people like this. The law needs to come down on people who willingly and recklessly could be spreading this disease, and that leads to the death of innocent people.